Oh, yeah. Same playbook. If you're anti-war, well, you must be pro-Putin. I mean, we see this again and again and again with people in the media, the whole military industrial complex. I was remember when Bill O'Reilly was, we couldn't call them French fries anymore. We had to call them freedom fries because the French were right. Said, no, I don't like this whole Iraq invasion thing. Oh, they're evil. They're terrible. Oh, if you're not with us, you're against us. That type of rhetoric that exists right now with the Ukraine and Russia situation. Jeffrey Sachs just put out a piece. And again, this guy that times I agree with the guy, there's times I don't, on various different pieces, but he's echoing many of the things that we discussed here on this program over a year ago. I mean, well, about a year and a half ago, having to do with Ukraine and Russia and the history that's there that is not being presented to the American people. And he talks about Vietnam. And he said that the U.S. government treated the public like a mushroom farm, keeping it in the dark and feeding it manure. And then you had the Pentagon Papers, which documented the U.S. government lying about the war in order to protect politicians that would be embarrassed by the truth. And Sachs is saying that the manure that's piling up in regards Ukraine it's stacking up. It's stacking up at this point in time. So it's being piled even higher. And he mentions something that we talked about here on the podcast not too long ago. It was a week or two ago when you had the head of NATO, this Jan Stoltenberg. And he said to the European Parliament, it was like a Freudian slip, that the real cause of the war, was the push to enlarge NATO. And his exact words. The background was that President Putin declared in the autumn of 2021 and actually sent a draft treaty that they wanted NATO to sign to promise no more NATO enlargement. That was what he sent us and was a precondition to not invade Ukraine. Of course, we didn't sign that. The opposite happened. He wanted us to sign that promise, never to enlarge NATO. He wanted us to remove our military infrastructure and all allies that have joined NATO since 1997, meaning half of NATO. All the Central and Eastern Europe. We should remove NATO from that part of our alliance, introducing some kind of B or second class membership, and we rejected that. So he went to war to prevent NATO, more NATO close to his borders. Okay. Again, not really explained to the American people. And when you present this, as I've presented it, Sachs has presented, others have presented this, you get the types out there that paint you as some sort of Putin apologist. We're not. These are just the facts. There was a memo. William Burns. He is the CIA director. He was a U.S. ambassador to Russia in 2008. He put out a memo entitled "Niet Means Niet." This is back in 2008. In that memo, Burns explained to Condoleezza Rice that the entire Russian political class, not just Putin, was dead set against NATO enlargement. We know about the memo only because it was leaked. Otherwise, we'd be in the dark about it. And then you can go back to 1990, where George H.W. Bush, put out, said, hey, listen, we promise, you can go look at this, is all available online. We are not going to enlarge NATO a single inch outside of Germany toward your borders. And we kept that promise for 9 years. Then we added 3 Central Europeans, 1999, and another 7 in 2004, including the Baltics. Okay. I think it's important when you're trying to figure things out in relationships. You want to understand your adversary's motivation, right? Why does Russia oppose? Why would they oppose NATO enlargement? They don't want to have a military on its border. They don't want to have it in the Black Sea region. It doesn't like the fact that we have placed Aegis missiles in Poland and Romania. Again, Russia also recognizes, and I'm just giving you their view of us, okay? I'm giving you their view of us. They were involved in the Cold War. We were involved during the Cold War. What was it? They estimated 70 regime change operations between 1947 and 1989. And then since then, let's look. Serbia, Afghanistan, Georgia, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Venezuela, and Ukraine. Okay. Again, the rhetoric coming out of certain politicians here in the United States, talking about decolonizing Russia. Sachs writes that even Zelensky's team knew that the quest for NATO enlargement meant imminent war with Russia. The former advisor to the office of the president of Ukraine under Zelensky declared that with a 99.9% probability, our price for joining NATO is a big war with Russia. But he also claimed that Russia would eventually try to take Ukraine anyway. That remains to be seen. Okay. What happened? In 2014, we got involved. We got involved in the Ukraine and helped to overthrow. There was Victoria Nuland. Remember her famous line, F the EU, that she said was there. We were overthrowing an elected government in the Ukraine. Then Russia, that's when Russia stepped in and took Crimea. Why would they take Crimea? Well, that's where their Black Sea naval base has been located since 1783. Again, that's their Black Sea naval base. They were concerned, oh, geez, guess what? NATO might take it. Now, even though we might not take it, again, they've got a different view than we have. Okay? They called for some autonomy for the ethnic Russian Donbass region, not a Russian claim on the territory. Again, what did we do at that point in time? Well, we started arming the Ukraine and building up their military. Again, that agreement that Russia penned in 2021, tried to stop it, didn't work out. I understand we could have maybe had some as a negotiation starting point saying, hey, listen, Ukraine's not going to become a part of NATO, but, we're keeping the missiles there. But you have to understand, you would have to agree, if you were Russia, okay, and again, you take a look at their history as well, and a lot of it, not very good. Okay. They're not angels by any stretch of the imagination, but they have security concerns as well. Again, you think about it, how would we start feeling? I mean, we talk about this now as, China is going to be looking to put a naval base in, somewhere maybe in the Middle East. And, there's thoughts of Russia's thinking about putting up a base in Libya. And let's be honest, that's hell and high water away from us. But again, it concerns us. It makes it into the news. What if, Russia and China started putting military bases in the Western Hemisphere? And you go all the way back to the Monroe Doctrine. It was 1823. And again, stay out of our neck of the woods. I think that we should pay attention to other nations' security concerns. Again, what does this mean right now? Sachs seems to think that the Ukraine war will end when the United States acknowledges a truth that NATO enlargement to Ukraine means perpetual war and Ukraine's destruction. Ukraine's neutrality could have avoided the war and remains the key to peace. Again, it's what we said, a year and a half ago. The deeper truth is that European security depends on collective security as called for by the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, not one-sided demands. Again, he's got a point here, people. And I don't know, maybe maybe certain people are starting to see it. I think many of our politicians are, it's woefully inept and ignorant when it comes to these things. I really do. I think they play to the cameras to some degree. And again, at this point in time, who trusts anything anything that our government says when it comes to war and foreign policy. I mean, they've been lying to us for a very, very long time, again and again and again. And at some point in time, we've got to wisen up. We really do. We've got to wisen up. We've got to get control of this military industrial complex. Okay. Again, I'm completely against this ridiculous war. I think that the thing could have been avoided. Does that make me pro-Putin? No, it just makes me thoughtful. WatchDog on WallStreet.com.